Hey, Canucks fans, welcome to Kempner Canucks. My name is RevTrev, and today we are diving in to the conversation regarding the second line center. Yes, the Canucks are on the hunt, on the prowl for a second line center. Who can they land? We're going to be talking about all kinds of different options and scenarios. So we're going to hit the promo and dive right into it. So glad you're here. Hey, want you to post a comment if you're watching this later, or put a thing into the live chat right now, and we're going to dive into this interesting conversation. Boy, there is so much to think about, so much to talk about. Let's go. Hey everyone, so as we dive into this second line center conversation, it's an important one to think about because it feels like the Vancouver Canucks are running out of options. And so let's talk about the story isn't written, right? And that's the thing is when we're talking about this, what I would consider a controversial conversation, because there's a lot of pushback towards our team and the moves we made at free agency to run it back. And you know as well as I do that I just did this video called the pros and cons to the run it back strategy, or like all the young kids say, strat, run it back strat. And so check out that video. It was the one I just did previously to this. And, there's a lot of criticism. And the biggest criticism is this, is like the Vancouver Canucks did not go and get a second line center. Now, they didn't take the money that they used for Kane or Besser and get a second line center. That is a huge need and a huge gap. And some people are sitting there going, is it really? Like, do we have enough horses in the stable already? There's a lot, and we'll talk about what's in the cupboard, okay? And I'm just writing it in so I don't forget that in one of the banners. Okay, so I'm going to bring up this, but here's the big question I want us to answer tonight is, will the Canucks find a second line center before the season starts? And that is the key here, is that this is not done after July 1st, right? We're on July 4th, and it's still early on. There's still a lot of options. And so I know that there's a lot of Canuck fans out there that have certain strong opinions on who we need to get in, and that's okay. We can have those. What I've been learning through this whole process of free agency, as of RFAs, UFAs, all those things, that the Canucks have different priorities than most Canuck fans do. Now, that's probably not surprising, but if you think about it, some of the names that have been coming out there have been very shocking. Very shocking. And so post in the comments, because like this is not, I don't think this is something that happens. Like, of course, I would love a trade to already happen, a signing to already happen. So this is a conversation we can stop having and say, hey, but it feels like if the Canucks did what they had already planned to do, there would be just mixture of emotions. Okay. So let's just talk about it. Because the question is, will the Canucks management trade for a second line center, or are they going to sign one, right? So basically what it comes down to is two different names, and we'll get into it in just a second, okay? But the names thrown around for the Canucks second line center solution have been Matt Duchene, and he extended. You got Marco Rossi, and we couldn't get that trade to be pulled off. They wanted more than we were offering. And the other one is Christian Dvorak. And for me, I understood the Duchene one, the Marco Rossi one, but the Christian Dvorak one to me was really, really surprising. Like, really surprising. So if you look at his kind of track record, I'll bring it up here for just a second. And I'm going to do a comparison of these two. But if you look at it, Like, he's a 29-year-old player, right? And this is who the Canucks were targeting, and they lost the bidding war for him. $5 million he signed for, which was really, really surprising. I did not think, and I think the Canucks were surprised. And when it went to that high of sweepstakes, they pulled out. And the Canucks management, as much as, and I'll bring this actually back just for a second before I get into that. The Canucks management, as critical as people have been, it feels like this time they didn't overspend and didn't try too hard to make it happen. They had certain guys on the board. They had certain prices they were willing to pay. And then when it went over top of that, they were like, we're out. We're out. We'll find another way. And I actually respect the management for doing that instead of trying to overpay for some of these players. Getting Rossi, I was okay with that deal. A lot of people criticize him, too small. But he's a 23-year-old who's already had 60 points in the NHL. Like, he's got talent, in my opinion. And everyone's like, he's too small. It's like, well, if we got, Celebrini or Bedard, no one would be saying too small, right? And I'm not saying that he's the same caliber as those guys, but I mean, he's putting up really good points, everyone. Really good points. Disgruntled asset. Can't believe what they're asking for. And the Canucks were like, we're out. When it comes to Christian Dvorak, they're like, we're out. When it came to Matt Duchene, we're out. Think about last year, okay? Last year they were in, right? They went and got Heinonen. They got Desharnais. And Canuck fans are like, what are we doing? What are we doing? You know what I mean? And then we're moving those guys out because they weren't the answer. We knew as a fan base that they weren't the answer. And they went and paid they paid decent money. I mean, Desharnais got $2 million a year for 2 years. So it's a $4 million contract. Thankfully, they were able to add him to a contract with the Pittsburgh Penguins to make a move to be able to get Marcus Pettersson, right? So, like, they fixed their mistakes really quickly. Heinonen was a guy that we thought would be good for this lineup. Local boy, and all of a sudden it's like, no, he was terrible. And here's so Alvin and Rutherford are sitting there and they're saying, hey, we're not going to do that this year. We've got certain prices we're going to meet, and then if we don't get them, we're going to have a pivot and go somewhere else. The problem is we don't have anyone. And I understand when they criticize the Canucks and saying, like if they knew that they were bringing Brock Besser back, my question is, would have they brought in Evander Kane? Or would have they taken that $5 million and tried to find a centerman? It sounded like they were in the conversation with Dvorak. It was going wrong. With an hour remaining before July 1st deadline opened up, they circled back to Brock Besser and offered him $7.25 million times 7 years, and it made it happen. It was like, if we're not going to get a second line center, we're going to have to figure out and pivot a different way. And people are like, hey, it's so weird that Brock Besser was plan B. No, I think Brock Besser was plan E. And it's no slight to Brock Besser. Like, it's just a reality and just a fact. But they were looking for a second line center. They wanted Duchene. He extended. They wanted Rossi, and he got traded. Or, no, sorry, he didn't get traded. He's still on the Wild. What they wanted was too much, and they said, we got to pivot. Sorry. Yeah, that's out for we've got to make something happen, right? Then they go and make a trade for Kane. And it's like, okay, we got a forward. We need a centerman, but we got a forward. He's got grit and size. That's great. And then it's like, okay, we're going to pivot to another player. And that player was Christian Dvorak. And I was like, I did not understand why. So what's the answer? Because Rossi, most people are sitting there saying, I want Rossi. But do you want to give up the pay for Rossi? It was a first pick plus a player, maybe a prospect. Like, it might have been those three. It might only have been those two. It's hard to hear what it actually was. Who was it actually that did it? I'm sorry, who was actually who they wanted? And the Canucks said, no, thanks. I think if we would have traded Mancini, DPD, like it's first round pick. So it's like Coots, and then it goes down to, well, they would have picked someone else, maybe, or maybe they would have picked him. I don't know. Maybe they picked Ekblad. I don't know what they would have done with that pick. But it's the 15th overall pick plus one of our young prospects. It's DPD, Mancini, Leckermacki, or I feel like I'm missing somebody. There's someone else, right? And maybe they wanted Joshua. Would have you given up those three things to go get Rossi? The Canucks were not willing to do that. But Rossi is a disgruntled asset, everyone. A disgruntled asset. And so the question is now, is it still Rossi that's on the board, or is it Roslovic? That is the question, because Roslovic is still available. From what I've seen, what I've heard, I haven't seen him sign anywhere else. Maybe I should just check there. But I mean, I think personally, I think Canuck fans want Rossi, and I get it. I understand why. I don't think you want to give up what they want. I really, really don't. So I think we have to shift our expectations and believe, hey, that's not in the picture anymore. And it's now going to be one of two things. It's either going to be Roslovic, or it's going to be within, or it's going to be a different trade altogether. So we're going to dive into this question. Now, I'm just going to tell you, I know that people are not excited about Roslovic. I'm not personally excited about him either. And you'll just see it here. Like Elfrin's first guy to comment, not convinced Roslovic is the answer. He may be our one remaining option if one of the Abbey Canucks can't step up, which I hope they will, especially if Ratu can fill in. So yeah, and he said maybe I'm too optimistic, right? So we're gonna talk about what the answers could be. There's lots of options. Obviously, still going around for Rossi, finding another team to trade with, but then there's the whole free agency. And why hasn't Roslovic been accepted yet? Why hasn't someone signed him? And I think this is going to be one of those situations where his value is going to keep dropping because people are like, I don't really want to give his demands. And at the end of the day, it's going to be a Lankinen situation where nobody signed him, possibly. And then he just ends up signing with someone for dirt cheap. Just like Lankinen did, and then say, I'm going to get a contract extension next year when I have a good year. That's super possible. And he will have to have a really good year for someone to pay really good money, but you'll see. But next year, there's so many great free agents possibly hitting the market that he might get lost in the shuffle. So now is the time for him. He's trying to cash in now. Now, let me just give you a quick I want to give you a quick comparison, because if the Canucks were sitting there and they were saying, so like if we go to Dvorak for a second, okay, let's just go to Dvorak and just see some of his stats here. Just overall. So he's 29 years old. He drafted by Arizona. He's a second round pick. Okay. 58 overall in the 2014 NHL entry draft. I played for the London Knights. Okay. He's a centerman, shoots left, 6'1", 190. That's a big boy, but hasn't really produced, right? So he's played for Arizona for a number of years, then Montreal, and I thought he also played for someone else, Christian Dvorak. Is that the right guy that I'm looking at? I think it is, because now he's on a new team, right? Yeah, he's on the Flyers now, right? So, yes. So this is the guy I'm looking at. Now, I want to show you the comparison. Okay, I'm going to remove this just for a second. I'm going to bring up a new comparison. And this is Dvorak and Roslovic. Okay, we're going to share screen on this one. And look at this. Okay, so Roslovic and Dvorak basically have played the same amount of games, basically have scored the same amount of goals. And then Roslovic has had, 14 more assists. So, so similar. These stats are ridiculously similar. Now, remember that Dvorak played for Arizona in very weak years, minus 60 on the plus minus, right? But the penalty minutes a little bit more, the power play goals just 5 more. Like, these guys are almost carbon copy examples. And so all the people that are like, oh, I would have been okay with Christian Dvorak, but not Roslovic. It's like, really? These guys are almost identically the same player. And if you're going to get one for $1 million and one for $5 million, that's important to know, right? It shows their head-to-head. Wonder if they can show their regular season totals. Okay. I wish I could do just this important data. No. I want to know if they can just do this season alone. Doesn't look like it. Doesn't look like it. Let's just go to playoffs for a second. Roslovic has played 45 games. Dvorak's only played 14. Roslovic plays only 12 minutes a night. You can tell he's played on a better team with some of these teams. And Dvorak has played 16 minutes, and he gets those amount of points. That's crazy in the playoffs, right? But there's about a minute and a half difference, a little less than that, or just under, minute and a half difference in ice time. So if the Canucks were interested in Dvorak, just by looking at the stats, you could possibly make an argument that Roslovic is an option. Now, the last thing I want to talk about before I dive into all the comments is if we're going to make a trade, because we're jammed to the cap, to the top of the cap, right? Is we got to move some money, right? So we have to make room cap-wise, money-wise in the cap. Trade candidates for the Canucks can move, and now you're hearing a ton of conversation about Joshua, and lots of fans are upset about this. Shelovs. There's a little bit of talk about Höglander, not much, and a lot of conversation about Bluger. Bluger is only making like $1.8 million or something along those lines. Let me just say that properly. It is $1.8 million. I was right. Joshua makes 3.25. Höglander makes $3 million. That's the kind of money you need to move out, because you can't. The other guys is like you don't necessarily, like, they're not gonna be able to. So fans are so mad. How dare you say Joshua? He's gonna have a bounce back season. You can't find guys like that. I get the pushback, but you gotta move money. And everyone's like, well, just trade Hedl. Well, it's like, well, Hedl has got injury issues and nobody wants him. I still wish that the Canucks would have traded for Cooley in that New York Rangers deal and not Hedl. But no, it was Hedl. Here we are. Got another concussion. He's got at least 4 already. Some say 6. So where do you move money? Shelovs makes $850,000. Joshua makes 3.25. Höglander's 3. Bluger's 1.8. In order to get a second line center, you have to move it out. If you want to trade for a Rossi, for whoever, fill in the blank, that's what it's got to do. The last option, and I know it's already been posted in here, but it's something I brought up, is that maybe it's within. Maybe it's Ratu, maybe it's Bluger, maybe it's Hedl, and Sasson are going to be, they're going to figure out which one of those 4 guys can play second line minutes. Now, when I say that, I don't think Bluger is a second Second C guy. Blueger is a very, very talented third centerman. I think he's one of the best in the entire NHL, honestly. The penalty kill, the defensive play, the way he contributes and fights on the ice for position for the puck. He's tough to play against. He's got championship pedigree. He's won a cup with Vegas. I mean, Blueger for $1.8 million. I think you just keep him. And then Hedl, as much as I like Hedl, I think you can move him to a wing position if you're going to go get a centerman because of his speed. But he is a centerman. How long can we depend on him? So can Ratu be a second line center for this Canucks team? Can Sasson be a second line center? Can we rely on these Abbotsford Canucks to crack the lineup? I think Ratu's going to crack the lineup no matter what this year, and I think Sasson's going to see a lot of time as well. This might be the only option. Maybe they don't have enough money for Roslovic or Rossi or whoever. This might be the Abbotsford might be that. And we'll do a video on that later. So let's dive into your comments, everyone. So glad you're here. Absolutely pumped that you're here. Okay. Exile says they need to move a player to sign him. I hope they do move a winger and try to make a trade for William Karlsson from the Vegas Golden Knights. We have our first for next year, and she loves us trade bait. I don't think you want to trade your first round pick in the McKenna sweepstakes. That is crazy to do that at this stage. I wouldn't be making a trade with the first round pick at this stage. I really think that's bad because if we somehow hit injuries or things don't go our way, we want to have an opportunity to win the draft lottery, that is. But I don't mind this idea, but whenever it comes to that first round pick for next year, I'm kind of out in a trade offer. That's why it would be like Shelovs and Joshua for Karlsson, but I don't think Vegas wants Shelovs, doesn't need him. But Elfrin says our next trades should mean clearing up some cap space. Joshua and Blueger are on the trading block, apparently. Roslovic would be a nice add. He's got great speed. Yes, he does. Yes, he does. Speaking of which, I should bring up his stats just so we can look at them quickly. Maybe it'll be better for me to show this to you instead of show you anything else. Okay. Let's bring it up. Okay. So, as you look here, again, come back down to it. 6'1", 198. Listen, right-handed shot defense or centerman, 2020, he's 28 years old. He's a year younger than Dvorak. I mean, if you wanted Dvorak, isn't this the same dude? 39 points with Carolina. Only played 19 games with the New York Rangers. Columbus. Oh, I see what's going on here. So it'd be 31. Okay, sorry. Both the teams of Columbus and the New York Rangers, we're talking 31 points, 44, 45. And you're looking at the numbers for his time on the ice. 16 minutes he can play, and he's been playing 13 minutes the last two teams he's been on. So the most games he's played was when he was with Winnipeg, 77 games, only had 24 points early on in his career, and then played less games, got more points. So really, he's about a 40-point guy, right? And if you go back to Dvorak, which is going to be it's Christian Dvorak. When you look at his stats, it's a 30, like we're talking like early on had 37, 38, but he's down to the 30s, guys. And that's why the Canucks are like, we're not paying. We're not going to pay $5 million for a guy who gets 30 points. That's why Roslovic, a lot of people are like, no, Roslovic. I mean, he's better than Dvorak. I don't know why they haven't go for him, but maybe he wants $5 million as well. He probably learned some good habits playing for the Hurricanes, that's for sure. Green says depth is always a good thing, and I think Bluger is gone. Upgrade on the blue, on the BLU would be good. Better size and faceoffs and speed. They have to maneuver trades in order to find a second line center. Obviously, Canucks can't stand pat with the current roster they have. Green, happy Friday and happy 4th of July to all the American friends who are watching here tonight, tomorrow, whenever you're watching this. Colin says, would Roslovic maybe sign for $1.5 million, since apparently that's the cap space we have, according to, well, I think we only have $500,000. That's all we have right now. That's why we need to make a trade. But we always can make clear up cap, so you're allowed to go over the cap by 10% until you're set your opening roster. Yeah. Canucks can go 10% over the cap now, so they can swing if they miss. Yeah, absolutely. But Roslovic, it's 3 days into free agency, and he's like, I can hold out. I'm not signing for $1 million. But Jack might be asking for at least $4 million until he's willing to take a discount. That's really what I think. Lankinen was looking for a $3 million contract before the thing started. Nobody wanted to pay him that. Didn't have the money. Maybe they're willing to pay him, but didn't have the money. So Connor says Canucks have barely any cap space left to go for him. They'd have to trade someone like Sherwood's only making $1.5 million. So I don't think he's on the thing. Roslovic's agent is Claude Lemieux. I did not know that. Colin says he hasn't been signed by anyone that says they need a top 2 centerman yet. That could be a negotiation piece for us to take less. I agree. Mark, good to see you. Welcome. Glad to have you here. Roslovic is not the answer. Would rather have Ratu as the third line center. Yeah, but Roslovic would be the second line center. But maybe what you're saying is Roslovic is the third line center. He's not even a second line center. That's a valid thing. But couldn't you say the same thing about Dvorak? Was Dvorak just a depth centerman, or was they wanted to get him for a second line? So is that the same as Roslovic? So you keep Hedl there in case he gets hurt, and then you got Roslovic or Roslovic should be the second line, but he's the third line now. So sure was not going anywhere, everyone. I'm telling you that right now. Colin says we may need to trade both Joshua and Bluger to get a top second line that we need. But that's true. And probably something else. No one's going to give us a second line center for Joshua and Bluger. Third liners, here, you phone any NHL team, say, hey, I've got 2 third line players, and I'd like to trade them for your second line center. It's like, actually, I always do that. It's like on the phone. It's like, click, see you later. Ask Habs to eat cap on line A, but he's a right winger. It doesn't help us. I mean, I like him, but he makes way too much money. Roslovic 3, Ratu 4, trade blue, keep the blue. Is that blue on as depth bit? Ratu should make the team. Yes. Ratu could also sometimes help Hedl and take second center minutes. Yep. He's good enough. That's what we talked about tonight. Brock's deal did look even better after Ehlers signed. Talked about that last night. Term wasn't great on Brock, but the cap hit is really good. Yeah. Connor says signing Kane was a bonehead move. Hindsight 2020, maybe it was. We'll find out. And where did that Joseph signing come from as well? I know that was just out of left field. These guys are, and they're doing research on people we don't know, right? Dvorak is a 57% faceoff guy. That's where his value is. Okay. That's good to know, Green. Thank you. That's good information. Yeah. Kane costs nothing. That's true, other than cap space. $5 million. That's a lot. $5.12 actually, not just $5 million. No, don't trade Mancini. I know that's what I'm saying. Everyone's like, oh, we need to go get Rossi. That's what it's going to be. It's going to be Mancini, DPD, or Leckermacki. There's one more that I can't think of right now. I don't know why. Oh, Vilander is the other one. Can't trade any of those guys for him. We traded for Kane, didn't sign him. Yep. Mark says, glad they did not do it. Would have overpaid. Just wait and see now. If he so as much generates bad publicity, then let him walk after this year finishes. Yeah, it's not that thing. A lot of people are talking about calling this Mason McTavish. He might want out. It's not that he wants out. There was just a guy that said he may want out. If you go and actually listen to the actual take, it's not that he's saying he will want out. But Granlund going there, once Zigris went out and said, oh, McTavish is going to take more minutes, and then all of a sudden they go and pay $7 million to Granlund, the logical sense would be like, oh, Mason McTavish is out of that, is wanting out, but that might not be the case. That might not be the case. Kuznetsov, I don't think so, man. He's too there. So Canucks will make a trade for a second C by Christmas if necessary, but they will have to start the season, dude. Yeah, with this current roster. Tyler from the line changes here. Roslovic is likely going to be cheap, having not signed anywhere yet. I agree. Yeah, I don't think Kuznetsov. I mean, I guess if you would have said, well, Jonathan Taves is coming back, and it's like, well, maybe that could work. I don't know. A lot of people like McTavish, but what would he cost, everyone? What would you be willing to give up for McTavish? Yeah, super dark horse option for sure, but I don't think that's thing. Too many teams competing for Rossi at this point, and that's fine. I think we're done. Kane is from Van, want to come here. Yep. Yeah, I think he's going to be on his best behavior, honestly. Major, we need help. I agree. That's why I made this video. Jarrett, how are you, man? I'm doing good. How are you? Roslovic, our next late summer signing is Roslovic, a la Suter a couple years ago. May luck out on show me deal. Yep. That's exactly why I'm making this video. Roslovic is coming off a show me deal at $2.8 million when his previous was $4 million. Okay. So the show me deal for him is that he had 39 points last year on a very good Carolina team, and he only played 13 minutes and 49 seconds a night. So those are third line minutes, everyone. Yeah, what would it take? A lot. Tyson says, hey, let's go get Shane Pinto from the Sens. I like that idea. Mason Marchment? Like, really? He just signed, didn't he? That's surprising. Not many in on Rossi. By most accounts, many teams fear his size. Doesn't bother me, though. Kid's a stud. Plays like a dog. I agree. They only traded Kane because they didn't plan on re-signing Besser, it seems like. Yeah, we're loaded at winger now. Lost out on Granlund and Dvorak, and then they circled back. That's exactly what I think, too, Tyler. That's how it went. Yeah, Ottawa doesn't want to trade Pinto. They're a playoff team, right? Granlund contract is gross. I agree. That's why the Canucks. Yeah. If the Canucks were in on the Granlund contract, then this is why we're sitting there and going. They're like, no. He wants he's offered $7 million. He's like, I'll take that. Canucks like, I'm out. Yeah, a lot. And what a lot means is a lot that Canucks would be really mad about. Roslovic looks like he used to play for the Jets at one point. Yep, he did. That's where he started. Not sure he told none he wanted out of Anaheim. He didn't say that. Yeah, they have a lot of cap space, so they threw money at him. Yeah, Granlund's in Anaheim. Okay. I think they're the same. That's my point. And one's going to be way cheaper and one's going to be very expensive. Yeah, he did. Okay, Green says, anyone else think Tocchet going to have an aneurysm with Zegras and Dvorak being his top two centers? Yeah, that's going to be a headache. I really thought that jersey he's wearing is really Jets-like. Oh, in the picture? No, I don't know. Dvorak has had success under Tocchet, but how much? He thought PD was hard to coach. He's going to hate Zegras. That's what Tocchet's going to do. Yeah. Green. And PD had success under Tocchet until he didn't. Good point. Yeah, might as well bet on Kuznetsov. Yeah, I mean, what does he want, right, for the contract? Moving Shilovs is so criminal for what he did for Abby. His reward is get moved. I won't get past that for a while. Connor, it's not that they want to trade him. They're stuck, bro. They're literally stuck. His contract is set up that he has to pass waivers. So you either trade him or you lose him to waivers. There's no other options. The only other miracle that happens is that he gets through waivers and nobody picks him up off of waivers. But why would someone pick up the guy who's got an MVP at an international level and an MVP at the Calder Cup and a championship at the Calder Cup? Like, he's free, and there's at least 5 teams that are looking for a goaltender. Backup goaltender, starting goaltender, does not matter. That's what's happening. So this is nothing. This is nothing like it's criminal that they want to disrespect him and get rid of him. They do not want to get rid of him, man. They don't want to get rid of him. Tage Thompson is $7.14 million until 2030. Wonder what Buffalo would take for an unhappy Thompson. Well, how much would it cost how much stuff do we have to move out to get Tage? Like, would it have to be Pettersson? Would it have to be, like, I'm talking about EP40? Would it have to be, I don't know, DeBrusk, Garland? I don't know. And then, speaking of Garland, doesn't he have a no trade? Yeah, his no trade kicks in not this year, next year for 3 seasons. Sign the Sedins for a third line and Malhotra. Yeah, exactly. Should have got Norris at the deadline. I think they were trying to because he's great friends with Quinn Hughes. Connor says Hedl is in a position where if he suffers another concussion, could force him into retirement. It's very scary. Talked about that last video, which would be such a shame because guy's got tons of potential. I agree. The AHL isn't the NHL. Shilovs has not proven. Well, he's got 5 playoff victories. 5. So, yeah, Lank is not tradable. Demko is tradable for this year. Then his no trade clause kicks in for his entire thing. Bluger is not getting second line minutes. Nope. He's a third line guy for sure. Yeah, Shilovs was good. But then he was terrible in the regular season this year. He's still a guy who needs to develop. Yeah, and he did not play well. Yeah. So the answer is no, you don't want Roslovic. Okay, that's good. That's good to know. But the question is, then who? Then who? Is it the Abbey guys? Is it we make a trade for someone else? Move Hedl out, in my opinion, has speed. Going to be hard with injury history. We can't have that many injury-prone guys in our lineup. What can you get even for him, though? Honestly, it's not a bad idea. Yeah, we're so loaded at goalie. Losing Shilovs at this stage isn't going to be killing us, but we've grown to love him. So, yeah, once they got a book on him, he couldn't buy a win. That's true. It's true. But then he's redeemed himself in the AHL. He's young, everyone. Like, he can develop. He can get better. So, Kanutsev is a 1-year deal. Yep. Yeah, exactly. What's the money? I wonder if Shilovs, Vilander, Joshua, and the second round pick next year can get us McTavish. Maybe. I was surprised that they got Pittsburgh defenseman. Yeah, over the cap. Yep. Yeah, I know. I don't understand it. I imagine if it's a 1-year deal, it won't cost a whole lot. Yeah, the Canucks thing's an interesting one. Okay, look at that. Myers, Soucy, Juleson, Desharnais. Yeah, these are the guys that people did not help them. They moved out 3. They've now moved out 3 of those guys. Okay. 2 of them were in trade. Juleson was in free agency. Myers is just going to stay here till he ends his career, and he'll play his last games as a Canuck, in my opinion. Yeah. We have enough third liners, so you don't want Roslovic, okay? Shilov's is 5th ranked goalie in Vancouver, in my opinion, by management. Demko, Lankin, and Young, and Medvedev have all seen as better and more potential. Yeah. Young is? I thought it was Tolopilo, but Langston Demko also won more than 2 games in 8 starts. So after the Calder Cup performance. Yeah. Cool. Seagull, how's it going? What do you think about Ratu being our 4th line center? Bluger, the 3C, Philip, Hedel 2, and PD 1. Yeah, that's exactly what it is right now. That is exactly what it is. Yeah, this is exactly what we might have to do unless we make a trade. Not taking anything from Shilovs. I'm a fan, but he played great for Abbey this year, but he's nowhere near untouchable. It's true. They're not trading Sherwood. No, not at all. Steven's in here. Would you guys trade our 2026 first round pick, 2026 second round pick, center Philip Hedel, and defenseman Elias Pettersson for the Ducks center Mason McTavish? I'd say no. That's the thing. Everyone's like, go get Mason McTavish, and the answer is in all honesty, it's like, no, you'd have to give up something like this, and I don't think it's worth it. I was saying we need to trade them both for the cap space to get a second line center, not to trade them both for a second. Yes. Okay, I understand. Sorry. My apologies. Dak, Bluger, Shilovs, and Hoglander can all possibly be traded, even possibly Hedel, though I think they will keep him. Yeah, so the trade offer, see, it's too much. And that's the thing. That's why I don't think McTavish is a real thing. So, and a lot of people are like there, yeah, Leckermack before any of the defensive prospects. Joseph is definitely a replacement for Juleson, for sure. For sure. Or, yeah, AHL, Abbotsford Canucks, Willan replacement. Big taco side rate, Hedel higher than Roslovic, okay? I would move Leckermack, Shilovs, and a second for Tage Thompson. You don't have enough cap space to do that. He makes too much money. Those players there, you couldn't do it. You couldn't do it. You had to have Hedel in the conversation, and it still might not be enough. But Buffalo won't do that. I'm not panicking at all. It's just a conversation we're having. Yeah, it's gonna play out. So McTavish you'd have to give up a lot. McTavish for Joshua Leckermack and a pick. It's how much does he make? Let's go see Anaheim. Oh, he's an RFA. He still hasn't signed yet. Wow. That's why all the rumors are out. McTavish would cost Hedel, Hoglander, Wienlander, and a first. So basically, it's 2 first-rounders and a third-line winger and a second or third-line center. Wow. That's a lot of cap, too, because McTavish, depending on what he wants to get, Hedel's $4 million, right? So if we go back here, Hedel's 4.4, basically just over 4.4 million. And then you got Hoaglander's 3, Vlander's cheap, and the first round pick. I wouldn't do that, everyone, but I just don't see a scenario where I'd be super happy to land Mason McTavish if you'll see it right here. Steven says Hoaglander, Pedersen, Besser, DeBrusk, McTavish, Lecker-Mackey, Kane, Bluger, Garland, O'Connor, Ratu, Sherwood. I would love this lineup. Yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad. Yeah, I think it's going to be really expensive. It's just speculated. Canucks can't just throw Joshua and Bluger around. They have no movement clauses. Really? Okay, let's stop that one. Let's bring up this one just so we can just keep going back to the shared screen. Canucks cap hit. Okay, and then I want to move me down to here. Oh no, I don't. There. Okay. So Joshua has a 12-team no trade clause, so he could kill that deal right now. Bluger has a 12-team no trade clause. And look at these guys cannot be traded, and Quinn Hughes can. This is the crazy thing. This is the crazy thing. Wow. I don't like all these no movement clauses, everyone. I don't like them. Yeah, it's just speculated. Okay. No, yeah, there's modified ones. Yeah. Don't trade anything unless we can get a legit 2C. Roland, I'm with you. They aren't trading Rossi for picks and prospects. Nope, they're not. That's why he hasn't moved. I think the Canucks will make a push for Raquel. Rutherford and Alvin love their Pittsburgh boys, and the Pittsburgh is the only seller in the league right now. That could be true. Hogue doesn't have a no movement clause, so he might be the official trade bait. I wish there was a way we could know which NHL teams are on a player's no trade. Yeah, you can't. You could see going for Malkin or Rust as well. I mean, Malkin makes 8.7, right? So something like that. So I don't know how we do that. Let's go to Pittsburgh. And I might as well bring it up while I'm doing that. They have $15 million. Yeah, 6.1, and Rust is 5.125. Yeah, how do you move out that money to get it there? You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's a good idea, but yeah, you're right, Green. You're right. I just don't know. I saw McTavish live. He did not impress me, but maybe it was just one bad game, you know? Well, Dollywall and lots of the insiders now are going on vacation, everyone. Like, it is slim pickings what's going to happen now. So he's on vacation. His last show was today, and he's coming back September, August. A player would never publicly reveal his teams. No, that's bad. You're right. Calvin, I just know that if you don't speak French, don't even think about Montreal. You have to speak French to go there. Dak and a pick for Rust doesn't help our center problem. Yeah, upgrades are wingers for sure. That's a stupid rule. The waivers. Yeah, it's been there for forever. What did I think about the Dobson trade? I thought it was good for both teams. I thought it was great for both teams. And Dobson signing for that amount of money, that was a lot. So I think Montreal and the Islanders got better on that deal. Because those two draft picks, that's awesome. Ryan Strome wouldn't cost. I know you keep bringing him up. I just never hear his name out there. Trade Sheelovs to Florida. At least he could win a cup, right? Hito should be okay to run if he doesn't have a career-ending injury. They can put him on the ITR. Also, the buyout for Hito is basically nothing, very cheap and easy buyout if necessary. I think LTIR is the better move there. But yes, you're right. The Beer Baron. Other teams are desperate for a goalie. Think they could deal Lankinen by trade deadline. He's got a no movement clause. Yeah, I don't think you need to do that. But yeah, you're just stating a fact. I would try to make a move for Cole Sillinger as a second line center. A lot of people have said that. That's a possibility. Smasher says Canucks suck. They will always be bottom. I don't think so. I think they're going to make the playoffs this year. They're going to find a way to make the playoffs, but we'll see. Oh, they're really high on Ty Young. They've been raving about him lately. Okay. Roland, Thomas Drance of Canucks Central and the Athletic says that the Canucks can't even get a third-round pick for Sheelovs. Yeah, he's moved past Tolopilo. Okay, that's interesting to know. If they buy him out, there'll be a cap hit until 2028, 29. If he goes on LTR, he's just one and done with no cap hit. You underestimate the stupidity of Kevin Adams. Could probably get Tage Thompson for Tristan Nelson. Wow. Sheelov's probably going to get us a third-round pick. I don't even know if we can get that high. I don't think he's worth a second. Goalies are not there. The young ones, they don't. Let's keep going here. Better than nothing, I guess. Troy's in the building. I just got here. What do you see as an offer for us as a 2C? Well, I talked about the Abbotsford guys with Ratu, Sasson. Obviously, I think right now the option is Hedl is the guy that they have slotted in the second line. Rossi, they're out on them. I don't think that's a possibility. I don't mind the Cole Sillinger idea. A lot of people want the Mason McTavish option to come, but they don't like how much it's going to cost us. So that's where we're at tonight. Cap is rising. Yep. Could be easy to maneuver. Who do you think will be traded after playing at least 10 games with the big boy Canucks, or maybe before the start of the season? Well, I think it's Joshua's the one, everyone. That's what I think, but it's one that other teams might want. If Pittsburgh starts to rebuild this season, will they trade Crosby? If they do, he'll probably go to Colorado. Yeah, absolutely. You're hearing all the info. Would you guys trade Dakota Joshua for Rasmussen from Detroit? Okay, let's bring this up. Let's go to Detroit. Let's see. What is his got 3.2? That might work. But they're looking for a second line center too. That's what you got to remember, right? So if you look at their line combos, I got to shut this down soon. It's going to be an hour stream here. Who am I looking at again? I just got distracted. Oh, Detroit. So Detroit's second line center right now is Casper. Rasmussen was on the fourth line at the end of the season. Wow. Yeah, maybe that. I don't know if that's a good idea. Buffalo traded Eichel, Reinhart, and Cousins. There's no limit to their stupidity. It's true. Roland, would make sense to trade Demmer, go with Lanks, and Sheelovs for 5 years. You can't trade Lankinen. He's got a no movement clause. No, I wouldn't. Yeah. Wouldn't even bank on the hope. Okay. JT Miller had a no movement clause until they asked him to waive it. Keyword, they asked him. Crazy. Also, when they have a no movement clause, they can say, I want to go to one place. And that's the only things, and then you get hosed, just like we did on the New York Rangers deal. We got hosed on that deal. Hedl and Mancini and a first. And then, well, maybe hindsight 2020, is that a, yeah. Still don't think it's his value. I didn't like that deal. The one that blows my mind is DLC with the no movement trades. Like what? Yeah. Well, it's like he only making small. If Demko is healthy and playing well, we could move him if our season goes off the rails. It's true. Absolutely true. Okay. I'm just coming down to the end here. Sammy Blais went to the Habs. Absolutely. I checked today, out of the 64 goalies currently on the NHL rosters, there are only 2 that had lower save percentage than Shilaw's last season. Okay. Yeah, he was terrible in the NHL. He averaged like 4 or 5 goals a game. So no more soft Europeans. Okay. Miller was not good defensively in the room. He's a bully in one league. No, I don't know. Was he a bully or was he competitive? Just saying. As I wear my JT Miller jersey. Joshua brings grit. Can't have enough of that. Is the Canucks not Team Sweden? I agree, but how do you do that? Didn't Rasmussen stand up Jack Hughes also? I think Big Brother Quinn would want to ask him about that. That was funny. I'll have to look that up. That's all hearsay. Nobody knows the truth. Okay. Let's ask. I know you and I are probably on the same page on this. I'll just quickly address this. Maybe JT Miller is a toxic, terrible teammate. Okay. That's not out of the realm of possibility. And the rift is all his fault. Okay. Because he's a big meanie. Okay. The other thing is that your highest paid player did not come to camp ready to play. And Miller and others were upset about that. And Miller had the veteran sense to talk to him about it and say, that's not acceptable. So you tell me. You guys are trying to make the playoffs. You had a good run. You almost beat Edmonton, almost made it to the Western Conference Finals. And your most expensive player on the team doesn't come ready. And we're okay with that. I don't discredit JT for being upset. I probably, if I knew all the things, maybe I'd just be upset about his approach. Yeah, maybe he'd be open to waiving it. Look at Miller's career playoff numbers. PD's numbers over his career are better in the playoffs. They are. He only played twice. Of course, watch them magically win 5th and pick number 1 picks next. Oh, yeah, I know. True. I was talking about against Nashville and Oilers. Miller's a beast. Okay. If PD was injured, why did he play in the Four Nations? I know. People are. It's the PD police, dude. It's the PD. So, first and the only year that we heard of PD coming out into camp out of shape. I can buy the thing that is partially injured and partially not worked hard enough, but it really hurt the team. So, yeah, PD should have sat out the Four Nations, not Hughes. Yeah, or maybe both of them. Okay, I got to head out. Thank you so much, everyone. I got a huge day tomorrow. Got lots to do. Hope that you're doing well. Thank you so much for being here tonight. 106 people in here. It's been great. It's been great. So we've talked about, is Roslovic, I'm going to add in the title, is Roslovic or Rossi the Canucks second line center answer? I think that'll be a more interesting one. I'll change it now. Have a good night. And of course, always go Canucks go.